The greatest archaeological discovery of our lifetime was found 60 years ago and thrown away. In 1963, surveyors walking a dusty hill in southeastern Turkey noted some broken limestone slabs scattered across a mound the locals called Potbelly Hill. They wrote a few lines in a report. Probably a medieval cemetery, they said. Nothing here. And for 30 years, no one came back. Then, in 1994, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt was reading through old survey reports, and something about that dusty hill stopped him. Slabs of worked stone scattered on a summit in a region where the oldest stories on Earth were born. He drove out to see it for himself. He climbed the hill. He looked at what was lying in the dirt. And within minutes, by his own account, he understood that he was standing on something that would change history. He later said a man had two choices on that hilltop: walk away and tell no one, or spend the rest of his life digging. He dug. And what came out of Potbelly Hill has broken nearly every rule we thought we knew about the beginning of civilization. Because the temple under that hill is older than writing, older than the wheel, older than farming itself. And the strangest part is not what it is. The strangest part is that someone buried it on purpose. And a book your Bible quotes, a book the church removed, may hold the reason why. They call it Göbekli Tepe. And the numbers alone are hard to hold in your head. Stonehenge is about 5,000 years old, the Great Pyramid about 4,500. Göbekli Tepe is nearly 12,000 years old. It was already ancient, already abandoned for millennia, when the first stone of the first pyramid was laid. It is, by thousands of years, the oldest monumental temple ever found on this planet, and it should not exist. Rings of massive T-shaped pillars, the tallest over 5 meters, weighing as much as 10 tons, quarried, carved, moved, and raised into perfect enclosures. Covered in reliefs, foxes, serpents, scorpions, vultures, wild boars, a whole world of creatures crawling across the stone. But here is what the textbooks said about the people of that time. They were hunter-gatherers, small wandering bands chasing gazelle. No cities, no farms, no writing, no metal. People who, we were taught, could barely organize a seasonal camp. Somehow quarried 10-ton stones and built a sanctuary on a hilltop with a precision that still stands after 12,000 years. And the pillars are not just pillars. Look closely and the T-shape resolves into a figure. There are arms carved along the sides, hands meeting over the belt, wide belts and garments. The pillars are beings, enormous, faceless, stylized beings standing in silent circles. The hunters who built this place were not carving decoration, they were carving someone tall enough that the human figures beside them barely reach their knees. The question archaeologists still cannot fully answer is simple. Who taught them to do this? Because Göbekli Tepe doesn't just bend the timeline, it breaks the order of civilization itself. Everything we were taught runs in one direction. First farming, then villages, then surplus, then, last of all, temples. Civilization first, religion after. Göbekli Tepe reverses it. There are no houses here, no hearths of a town, no farms, no city walls. The temple stands alone, built by people who, as far as we can tell, had not yet farmed a single field. The man who dug it out of the hill put it in one sentence, and archaeologists have been arguing about it ever since. First came the temple, then came the city. Whatever gathered people on that hilltop, it wasn't harvest, it was belief. Belief strong enough to organize hundreds of hunters, feed them, direct them, and hold them to a single plan across generations. And that's not the only thing out of place. Some researchers who studied the enclosures argue the pillars align with the sky, tracking stars and the turning of the seasons, from a hilltop observatory built 7,000 years before Stonehenge. Others dispute it, but no one disputes what the site demands: geometry, planning, engineering, and the command of enormous labor, from people the old story says should have had none of it. Knowledge arriving too early, as if from outside. Hold that thought, because the site has one more secret, and it's the one that no theory has ever comfortably explained. Göbekli Tepe was not abandoned. It was not destroyed by an earthquake, or sacked by an enemy, or slowly swallowed by time. It was buried by human hands, deliberately. Around 8,000 BC, after the site had stood for well over 1,000 years, the people of that region made a decision we still cannot explain. They carried earth, rubble, and debris up that hill, hundreds of tons of it, and they entombed the entire sanctuary. Ring by ring, pillar by pillar, the great stone beings were packed around with fill and covered over, until nothing remained on the surface but a gentle swell in the landscape. A hill, a secret shaped like a hill. Think about the effort. Burying Göbekli Tepe was itself a monumental project, comparable to building it. This was not neglect. Neglect leaves ruins. This was labor, organized on a massive scale, to make a sacred place disappear. Archaeologists offer careful suggestions. A ritual closing, perhaps, a decommissioning, as one era of belief gave way to another. But read the excavation reports, and you meet the honest word again and again: unexplained. We do not know why they did it, and there's a detail that makes it stranger. The burial is why the site survived, sealed under its own hill, protected from 12,000 years of weather and war, waiting. Whoever buried it didn't erase it. They sealed it, which raises the question this channel exists to ask. What did the people of that age believe about these stone beings that made covering them with a mountain of earth feel necessary? There is a book that describes exactly that kind of fear and exactly that kind of burial. The Book of Enoch, quoted in your Bible by name, kept in the Ethiopian canon and removed everywhere else, tells the story of the generations before the flood. And at the center of that story is a transfer of knowledge that was never supposed to happen. 200 watchers descend, and what do? They teach. The text lists it like an indictment: the cutting of roots and spells, the making of weapons and ornaments, the signs of the sun and the moon, the courses of the stars, the very knowledge of the sky. Enchantments, metals, the secrets of the heavens, handed to human beings who were never meant to hold them. Sound familiar? Knowledge arriving too early, as if from outside. And Enoch describes what the world built with those gifts: a world of giants and wonders and violence, beings of enormous stature walking among men who barely reached their knees. Then comes the judgment. And listen to what heaven actually orders. This is the command given to the angels of the flood: destroy the works, cleanse the earth, let every evil work come to an end, and let the plant of righteousness appear. Not just the beings, the works. The judgment of Enoch is aimed at what the watchers made and taught, a world that had to be closed, sealed, and forgotten so that a new one could begin. Now stand on Potbelly Hill again with that story in your ears. A sanctuary of towering stone beings, raised by people holding knowledge out of joint with their time. Built in the shadow of the great catastrophe every ancient culture remembers as the flood era. And then, by an act of collective will we still can't explain, packed under a mountain of earth by the descendants of the very people who built it. Not destroyed, not forgotten where it fell. Sealed. The way you seal something you fear. The way heaven, in the old book, ordered a world sealed. Maybe the people who buried Göbekli Tepe were simply closing a temple whose time had passed. Or maybe they were obeying something older, a command remembered in fragments, that the works of that age were not to remain in the light. Here is what we know for certain. The oldest temple on earth was built by people the textbooks said couldn't build it. Its pillars are beings, not stones. Its knowledge arrived out of order. And its own children buried it, an act of enormous coordinated labor with no accepted explanation, which sealed it so perfectly that it waited 12,000 years beneath a hill for a man to read an old report and climb it. And here is what the removed book says, that before the flood, forbidden knowledge came down, that beings of great stature stood among men, and that when the judgment came, the command was not only to end them, but to bury their works and cleanse the earth of what they made. Two stories, one from the spade, one from the scroll. You decide where they touch. One last thing, Göbekli Tepe is not alone. Across those same Turkish hills, archaeologists are now uncovering its sisters, Karahan Tepe and a dozen more, most still underground, most not yet touched. The diggers themselves say the work has barely begun. Whatever was sealed under those hills is coming out now, one site at a time. If you want to know what else the Book of Enoch says was never supposed to survive, the prison at the ends of the earth and the beings who walked among men, those testaments are already unsealed on this channel. Subscribe, read the sources in the description, and question everything, including us. This has been the Forbidden Testament.